let me tell you a little bit about the contents of Ananda-matth, and especially of the first part, the prologue. We find that this novel opens with a short but cryptic kind of a prologue, beginning with an apprehension-inducing, very foreboding kind of poetic description of a dark, vast forest. The prologue closes with a brief exchange between two unnamed and unidentified human voices. This exchange between these two voices goes as follows, and I quote, "A little while later, the sound came again. Again the voice of man rang forth, troubling the hush. Shall the desire of my heart ever be fulfilled?" 3 times the wide sea of darkness was thus shaken. Then the answer came, "What is the stake put down?" The first voice replied, "I have staked my life and all its riches." The echo answered, "Life, it is a small thing which all can sacrifice." "What else is there? What more can I give?" This was the answer, "Thy soul's worship." Unquote. This portion, by the way, is taken from the English translation of Anand-mathh, which was done by Sri Aurobindo and his younger brother, Barindra Kumar Ghosh. The fact that they took the trouble of translating a Bengali novel is testimony to the great influence upon their generation exerted by this particular novel. Both of them are representative of that generation of Jugantar and Anushilan Samiti affiliated revolutionary patriots, nationalists, who were ready to offer themselves up to all kinds of endeavors that would free India from foreign rule, with little thought to personal inconvenience. It is interesting to note an official report, to be specific, the Rowlatt Committee report, that has to say something about the influence of this novel and of Bankim Chandra in general upon the generation of revolutionary nationalists. And I quote from the Rowlatt Committee report, "It will be remembered that in 1906 was published the pamphlet Bhavani Mandir." This was written by Sri Aurobindo, as a matter of fact, which set out the aims and objects of the revolutionaries. It was remarkable in more ways than one. The central idea as to a given religious order is taken from the well-known novel Ananda-matth of Bankim Chandra. It is a historical novel having for its setting the Sannyasi rebellion of 1774, when armed bands of sannyasis came into conflict with the East India Company and were suppressed after a temporary career of success. Unquote. To return to the subject matter of the prologue to Anand-mathh, we have mentioned already that it goes into a poetic reverie in describing the dense darkness of a forest that spans multiple paragraphs. This darkness is in fact symbolic of the condition of Bengal in particular and India in general in the second half of the 18th century, that is, late 1750s onwards, and until 1774 in particular, when the Sannyasi rebellion occurred, when the British East India Company was beginning to gain some foothold in the political and economic scenarios of our country. Chaos was the order of the day. The Mughal rule was in the decline. The Muslim governors of the Mughal emperor in Bengal had by then achieved a high degree of autonomy and were mismanaging the political and economic affairs of the Bengal province with impunity. The British East India Company had, of course, secured the Diwani or tax collecting rights from the Mughal emperor in 1765. The lack of governance and religious fanaticism of the Muslim Nawabs of Bengal on one hand, and the ruthless extraction of taxes by the British East India Company on the other, resulted in a famine that wiped out an estimated 1/3 of the population of Bengal. This is known as Chiattorer Monnontor in Bangla, the famine of 1176 of the Bengali calendar, which corresponds to the Gregorian calendar years of 1769 and 1770. This was one of the primary impetuses behind the uprising known as Sannyasi Rebellion. You can find more details about the Sannyasi Rebellion in D.N. Lorenzen's work. We do not have the time nor the scope to dwell upon this particular subject of the Sannyasi Rebellion here, so we will return to the prologue of Ananda-matth once again. There, in that prologue, as we saw in the excerpts from Sri Aurobindo and Barindra Kumar Ghosh's English translation of the Bangla novel, the fulfillment of someone's heart's desire requires a stake. What is the stake put down, within quotations, was the question asked by an anonymous voice in the dark, foreboding forest. Life and all its riches were offered, as a matter of fact, but they were dismissed as inadequate. The final resolution of the question given in the prologue was, and I quote once again, "Thy soul's worship," unquote. Please note that although Sri Aurobindo and Barindra had used the phrase soul's worship, the original Bangla text actually mentions the word bhakti, that is bhakti. This is the crucial connection between the novel of Bankim, that is Anand-mathh, and his philosophical discourse in Dharmatattva or Dharmatattva.